Hi everyone, and welcome to week 10 of our Sweet Childhood Memories Sew Along, hosted by Pat Sloan at her website, ilovetomakequilts.com. This week's block is a simple one, a few sew and flips, and a little bit of sashing. So come with me, and I'll show you how to do it. No alterations or changes to the cutting instructions this week, as there are no shortcuts, except I will be using the folded corner clipper tool once again to do my sew and flips on the 4 of the light squares, which I'm going to show you now. So to do the sew and flip with the folded corner clipper, we line up all of our edges nice and tight, and then we place the measurement of our small square, in this instance that's 2.5 inches, from the tool on the outside of the smaller block, and we trim away the excess, and then we sew with our 1/4 inch seam allowance. We'll then press this out and move on to the next step. You'll just see me here now quickly checking, because I do have a slightly directional fabric. It's not 100% directional, but I do have the same shape in each of my 4 squares, so I'm just making sure that they're all pointing the same direction. With our seam now sewn on all of the 4 pieces, we just need to press our corners out, and our sew and flip in this instance is done. Flashback to my original sew and flip video here. So if you don't have the folded corner clipper and you need to do it in the traditional method, for a traditional sew and flip you always start with 2 pieces of fabric. There is your base unit, and there is the piece of fabric that will create the sew and flip. To create the sew and flip, we first need to draw a diagonal line from corner to corner in one direction only on the piece that will become our sew and flip. We then will line this up on our larger square the same way that we did with the folded corner clipper, and make sure that all of our edges are covered and even, that there's no overlap, there's no underhang, there's no whatever. Then we'll take it to the machine, and I like to sew just 1 thread width to the right of my drawn line rather than on the drawn line, which I'll show you with this piece here. Move it up to the camera, please. There you see, I'm just to the right of the line, not by much, just a tiny little bit. We then fold that corner back, and we make sure, once again, that we've got no overlaps, no overhangs, and no underhangs. And the sew and flip, in the traditional sense, is done once you trim away those back 2 layers. Now return you to your regularly scheduled program. Now we just need to lay this out as per our pattern, and we'll be creating 3 rows in essence. The top row will have 3 pieces, the middle row is 1 straight piece, and our bottom row is 3 pieces. Also, I just made the 2 stacks there, so almost doing it like our normal 9-patch fashion, sewing on the middle piece to one side, grabbing the other piece, sewing it on, and then we'll press towards our center sashing. We just need to add the sashing in the center of these 2 rows now. So we're just going to sew it on the first piece and then press towards our little sashing piece. Then what we need to do is line up our vertical sashing from the top to the bottom. Now, first of all, I just go, everything's cut right, everything's the right size. I can just pin this on, but then you'll see me actually having to just shuffle it over the littlest bit so that it lines up with the piece on the other side. I don't have a tip or a trick on how to do this in this instance. You just have to line it up the best you can by feeling where your seam allowances have landed, and then you'll see me finally just put a pin in right next to it so it doesn't shift, and then sewing across. With that final seam done, we're just going to press this once again towards that sashing piece, and the block for this week is done. What you're going to see me do next is add the sashing piece as per the layout directions for this block, and then there'll be 3 images of possible layouts to use this block in repeat. Thanks for joining me again this week, folks. If you haven't done so already, like my video, share it with a friend, or subscribe if you haven't already done so. Most important, tickle that little bell icon and you won't miss a thing. Bye for now, and I'll see you all again next week.